Paul, how you doing? I appreciate you joining me today.
Doing real well. Thanks for having me.
So before we get started, I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about Proofpoint. Give me the 10,000 foot view.
Yeah, Proofpoint has been around about 16 years now. We are a public company and really have been focused in the email security space, and we've expanded well beyond that. But our people-centric security is really about protecting people. It's not just, filtering out spam. The real threats are attacking individuals. The bad guys have figured it out that that's really the vulnerability at companies, and our job is to do everything we can to protect our customers' users and protect them from bad things happening to them.
Thank you. Perfect. Tell me a little bit about what I know you've been there for a little bit, quite a while actually, and tell me a little bit about what you do at Proofpoint today, and then give me a little insight into your background.
Sure. Yeah, so I've been at Proofpoint about 7 years now, and the focus has really been in channel. I was a channel manager, and then I ventured into the MSP side of the fence and was focused on onboarding and managing and supporting our strategic MSPs. I support really the product line that's for SMBs, which is Essentials. Proofpoint Essentials is targeting our kind of small to medium enterprise customer base. And so I've been supporting our strategic partners in efforts of growing that business.
Awesome. So let's jump into the meat of today. I wanted to get our partners on the line, and I wanted to address this. Everyone's aware of the COVID-19 pandemic. We're all working from home. A lot of the states are mandatory shelter in place, and so I wanted to get my partners on the line and get their take, because I'm seeing a lot of marketing hysteria. I'm seeing a lot of hype out there, definitely in our space in cybersecurity, but I'm seeing it in a lot of industries. And I wanted to reach out to you, and I wanted to find out, what's really changed for you and for your organization.
Yeah, so from a proof point perspective, I mean, nothing's changed dramatically for us. I mean, we've adapted well to working at home. I've been working at home for over 10 years. So for me personally, it's not been that much of a change. I think for customers, the real change is now there's some risk because all their employees are working remote. They're not sitting behind the firewall or the web gateway or some cloud application solution. There's challenges in that they're now isolated a little bit more. They may have access to other things that they didn't when they were sitting behind the corporate network. Accessing webmail or other things, personal email, which is just another avenue to introduce threats to their computer. Compromising their accounts, those sorts of things. So there's a lot of threats out there, and I think with folks being remote, it does introduce some additional challenges. And again, as I mentioned, users really are, one of the risks that you want your users to be trained really well and make sure they're not clicking on things that they shouldn't or opening things that they shouldn't open.
Right. I mean, you kind of hit on my next follow on, and that's, what are some of the biggest pain points that your customers are seeing? Is it people having their access to their personal email and they're not behind the firewall? What does that look like?
Well, it just opens the door to more risk. If they're accessing personal email, they might click on links or open attachments that they wouldn't otherwise, or they may not be able to when they're sitting behind the corporate firewall. And so having access, and then they're VPNing in to the corporate network, and they may have something on their system that, keylogger or other things that are capturing critical information to get into specific accounts or network access. And that's how breaches happen. So I think anytime you take users that are comfortable sitting behind the corporate firewall and network, and now they're remote, there is some risk there. Proofpoint does offer security and awareness training, which we think, goes really hand in hand with having, the best filters in the industry. Training the users is the other aspect of it. I mean, that's half the battle because, to be honest, some filters are always going to let something through. Nobody's 100% perfect, and if they are, I wouldn't believe it. Like it's impossible to be 100% perfect. And so, training users is critically important in fighting the battle, because that's half the thing. If they can identify and avoid clicking on things they shouldn't click on, you're much better off.
Yeah, it's funny. You sound like someone over my organization. We always say you can have every tool under the sun and the moon, but user education is key, and it can't stop someone from clicking on a link.
Well, it's true because even some of the emails nowadays, some of the more dangerous ones aren't necessarily, they may not contain an attachment or a malicious link. It could just be a spoofed email that looks like it's coming from your CEO directing you to wire transfer money somewhere it shouldn't go, and it's going to the bad guy. So people do get fooled, and you just have to be really on top of it. And training your users is a big aspect in combating those threats that the bad guys are introducing.
Okay, perfect. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I just kind of summarize this because it leads into the next point. The what I'm taking away from this is the risks are still there, or the risks are the same as they always were, but now with this shift, it's really increased that surface. So there's a lot. It's a lot more volume that we have to take account for, and also I would say there's probably a lot more threat actors out there trying to take advantage of the situation. So, my next question was, how's this impacting risk for your customers? And the answer is it's more risky.
Well, it's introduced a whole new wave of threats, actually, because the bad guys are not, I mean, they're going to take advantage of the COVID situation, and they're actually now crafting emails related to COVID or refund checks from the government for your $1,200 or whatever it might be. So they're capitalizing on it, and it's just giving them more ammunition and tricks and techniques to try and get people fooled to doing something they shouldn't do. Again, it's unfortunate that it happens, especially in this environment. Taking advantage of people who, maybe working from home or in some cases are now laid off. So I hate to see people getting fooled by the bad guys, but they're relentless. And that's our battle, is to protect and defend and protect all of our customers as best we can. And that's what Proofpoint really is known for. Our filtering, I think, is excellent, and we invest heavily in R&D and our threat ops team to fight that battle, which is a never-ending battle against the bad guys.
Threat intelligence constantly ever evolving.
Yeah.
Well, perfect. I mean, are you seeing any common trends that your customers are using to mitigate these risks?
Well, I think obviously having really good filter and security policies in place, but I think training the users, and one thing, like with our training, security and awareness training that we do, is we do incorporate the latest phishing emails or trends. So in other words, a brand new phishing email that we see in the wild attacking one of our customers, maybe it's one of the large banks or whoever it might be, we're actually taking that phishing email and incorporating it into the security awareness training as a phishing template that you can use to train your users so that they're not fooled. And so the quicker that we can get that content in the security awareness training, it makes it relative and real time in helping your users identify and not be fooled, making sure that they're protected. So, being on the front lines in this battle, we see those new threats coming across every day, and I think security and awareness training makes a big difference in people's lives if they see what the latest threats are that are out there, and they know what they need to do to avoid clicking on it or opening it.
Absolutely. So let's chat about moving forward, right? Who knows how long we're going to be 100% remote? It could be a while, and who knows what's going to happen once this quarantine ends. And are we, how much more remote are people going to be? Though we've kind of gone globally remote. How do you see the landscape of our industry of cybersecurity changing? Not just in the immediate future, but long term.
Well, and I think, when I said Proofpoint's people-centric security and the focus is on the people, it's not protecting a network or an environment, where a company's located. It's the people. And now, the remote workforces and people traveling all the time and accessing all the data that they need to access and the systems that they need to access from a multitude of different devices, laptops, iPhones, tabloids, whatever it might be. You have to protect the user no matter where they are. And from a security perspective, I think, that's our initiative, is to try and help our customers protect all their users no matter where they reside. And as I mentioned, the remote users, I think it does isolate them a little bit, and it does open up some threats working from the home office because they're not sitting behind the corporate firewall or the web gateway. But I think if you have the right tools in place, you can mitigate the risks, and they can still be very productive in working from home. And it is going to be hard to tell what's going to happen here in the future with this whole situation. I'm curious to see how it pans out. I hope this whole thing goes away in a couple months and we get back on track to where we should be.
Yeah, me too. So last kind of question around this, and you sort of hinted at this and touched on this already, but just to kind of ask you directly, how do you see Proofpoint changing, or evolving? Obviously, it's an ever evolving, piece of technology software tool, but how do you see it changing in response to this?
Well, I mean, I think Proofpoint is pretty fluid. Like, we've innovated and we invest heavily in our research and development. We've done a lot of acquisitions of other companies and technologies, and it's in this quest to fight this never-ending fight against the bad guys. They're never going to stop innovating and creating new threats to get stuff past filters or compromise people. And our job is to keep up with them and fight them head on. And we have to adapt. We have to innovate. We have to never stop investing in the technology and the company to fight this battle. I think it's hard to predict what's going to happen with this whole remote workforce situation. I don't know what new tricks or techniques the bad guys are going to introduce, but I guarantee you that they will. They're going to come out with some new stuff, and we're going to have to be responsive and fight that battle and prevent them from succeeding.
Well, Paul, I appreciate you joining me today. Do you have any parting words you want to leave with the audience out there?
I think stay positive, keep fighting the fight. Things will turn around here shortly. And I think, we'll be past this hopefully in a few months. But, I think better times are coming for sure.